There is a specific kind of satisfaction found in a perfectly calibrated death trap, where the rhythm of your own blade matches the mechanical snap of a floor spike. Castle of Alchemists attempts to live in that narrow, high-stakes space between a frantic action RPG and a methodical tower defense. At its core, Castle of Alchemists is a hybrid of top-down action and tower defense. Currently available on PC, you play as a Bellator, an alchemically enhanced super soldier tasked with defending a sprawling citadel from invading hordes. While it shares some DNA with titles like Orcs Must Die, it distinguishes itself through a much heavier emphasis on character progression, gear loot, and a gritty, pixel art aesthetic that feels more like a dark fantasy RPG than a whimsical strategy game. The gameplay loop is divided into two distinct phases, the preparation and the execution. During the prep phase, you're looking at the blueprints of the level, identifying choke points, and spending resources on a variety of traps ranging from simple floor spikes to elaborate elemental turrets. The strategy here isn't just about stopping the enemies, it is about funneling them. The mechanical identity of the game really shines once the gates open. Unlike many tower defense games where the player character feels like a secondary nuisance, the combat in Castle of Alchemists is meaty and essential. You have access to a wide array of melee weapons, crossbows, and alchemical abilities. There is a genuine sense of weight to the combat, a tactile feedback that makes swinging a heavy hammer into a group of slowed enemies feel immensely rewarding. Visually, the game utilizes the highly detailed pixel art style that leans into a grimdark alchemical aesthetic. The environments are atmospheric, filled with bubbling vats and cold stone masonry that give the castle a sense of history. What is most impressive is the visual clarity. In a game where dozens of enemies, elemental effects, and trap animations are happening simultaneously, it is vital that the player can still read the battlefield. Castle of Alchemists manages this well, using distinct silhouettes and colour-coded magical effects to ensure you never lose track of your character in the chaos. Performance is rock solid, maintaining a high frame rate even when the screen is absolutely flooded with sprites. The sound design complements the tactile nature of the gameplay. The clink of armor and the heavy thud of traps resetting provide necessary audio cues to keep you grounded in the fight. The soundtrack is atmospheric, mostly dark, driving synth and orchestral hybrid tracks that ramp up the tension during the final waves of a stage. While the music doesn't necessarily have many earworm melodies, it serves the industrial alchemical theme perfectly, never becoming intrusive or repetitive. The story is largely functional, served through brief dialogue snippets and environmental storytelling. You are the last line of defense for the great alchemists' laboratories, and while the lore regarding sends from mutated soldiers to clockwork monstrosities is interesting, it largely stays in the background. It provides just enough context to justify the carnage without ever getting in the way of the action. This is a game about the ludonarrative of defense rather than a character-driven epic. The greatest strength of Castle of Alchemists is the synergy between its systems. Finding a piece of gear that increases fire damage and then layering your traps to maximize that specific element feels like a genuine tactical win. The variety in enemy types also forces you to constantly rethink your trap layouts, preventing the set it and forget it stagnation that plagues lesser tower defense titles. On the critical side, the UI can feel a bit cluttered, especially when managing the deep crafting and equipment menus. There is also a steep difficulty curve that hits around the third act, which might frustrate players who haven't fully engaged with the crafting systems. It demands a level of optimization that can feel punishing if you just want to play casually. In terms of value, there is a significant amount of content here for the price point. With multiple difficulty tiers, a wealth of unlockable traps, and a robust gear system, you are looking at 20 to 30 hours of gameplay for a standard playthrough, and significantly more for completionists. Compared to other indie titles in the genre, the level of polish and the depth of the RPG systems make it a very fair proposition. Castle of Alchemists is a standout entry for fans of action tower defense. It successfully marries the strategic satisfaction of building a perfect death trap with the visceral thrill of an ARPG. It is perfect for players who enjoy theory crafting builds and don't mind a bit of a challenge. If you prefer your strategy games to be slow and purely tactical, the frantic combat might be a bit much, but for everyone else this is a highly polished gem. Taking into account the mechanical depth, the satisfying progression, and the minor issues with UI and grinding, I give Castle of Alchemists an 8.2 out of 10. It is a robust, well-engineered experience that respects the player's intelligence and their reflexes. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the Citadel, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more technical analysis of the latest indie titles. For today's discussion, do you prefer tower defense games where you are a passive observer, or do you like being right in the thick of the fight like in Castle of Alchemists? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching.